Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At the Monroe County Women's Commission meeting on August 24th, Chairperson Nichelle Whitney Wash introduced new members Tiana Iroget, Maria Douglas, Nikki Williamson, and Molly Otto. Commissioner and County Councilor Liaison Jennifer Crossley introduced herself to the new members and explained why she joined the commission herself.
I'm Jennifer Crossley, and I am the newest person on County Council. I was caucused in December of 2021, and yeah, I am excited to be a part of this. Actually, thought to be, not really physically thought, but I sternly asked to be a part of this because I do believe in the mission of our County Women's Commission, and I also know that Nichelle has worked very hard with this commission and get it up and running. And just as a woman, as a Black woman, you know, being involved in civic engagement and leadership, and having 3 kids myself, one who is, you know, really doing some good stuff here in the community. And I'm really proud of how she's put herself out there. So she's following in my footsteps, and just seeing how, you know, our state seems to think of women's rights and issues. And I say that with a sarcastic way, but so yeah, so I definitely believe in that. And I'm just really excited to see this commission get off on the right foot, and yeah, happy to be here.
Whitney Wash explained the logistics of the upcoming Monroe County Girls Coding Camp and its curriculum.
A little bit about how the program is running. So we are actually using curriculum that has already been designed and tested, okay, for middle school girls. It's the Girls Who Code curriculum, but we're specifically doing the at-home version so that girls can do this on the go as they need. They will be able to do it from any device that they have because it's all cloud-based. If you all remember this program from last year, one of the issues that we ran into were some tech limitations because of what needed to be downloaded onto computers and what needed to be accessed. This time we are entirely cloud-based. And this is a social justice activism curriculum. So they're going to be getting coding skills, but they're going to also have the opportunity to really lean into and develop out their social justice lens and their activism. Our instructors, how are we pulling this off? Because I'm certainly not an IT person and cannot do this. So you just heard from the Luddy School, there are students that will be supervising that location on Saturdays, and they've actually run these programs for some time, right? And then also the Luddy School is providing interns that will supervise the curriculum at a remote location, being Edgewood Junior High. CWIT is actually going to staff the interns for the mill, again, with oversight from Andy and Bram. We are providing snacks to students. So every location will have ample snacks throughout the time. And then there was one more thing that I was gonna say. Oh, our central curriculum person is going to be Nick LaPlante. He's from Ivy Tech School of IT and has been with the program since we started it. Chris Carroll used to also be with us, but has kind of transitioned. So Nick is our point person. So he is not going to be the primary deliverer of curriculum because we really want our interns to have that. As much as possible, we're going to try to staff women identifying interns so that our girls in camp see women doing this work. But Nick will kind of be the behind the scenes, making sure he gets all of the interns together across the 3 different locations to make sure we're being consistent in what we're delivering. Something to note about this camp, the Edgewood Junior High location is gonna run for an hour, okay? The other 2 locations, Dimension Mill and Luddy, will run for 90 minutes. If we need to pivot and extend Edgewood's location to 90 minutes, we absolutely can do that, okay? It was a matter of understanding the demographic of students that come, and their program happens right after school. So Megan keeps the girls, they don't even go home. Whereas the other 2 locations have a commute capacity to them. And so we built in some extra time to make sure that we have what we need.
She clarified that the Monroe County Girls Coding Camp is different from the Girls Who Code program. However, the coding camp does use the Girls Who Codes educational content. Next, Whitney Wash introduced discussion on a question she often receives from the public.
The camp is free to every single student. Every single student that participates, the camp is free. I'll also throw this out here. We get asked all the time, when are you going to do it for boys? I don't know. Can't say that we will, can't say that we won't. What do you all think? I mean, we are the Women's Commission. What do you think about opening this up to students other than those who identify as girls?
Eroge responded that she thinks the camp should continue to be held exclusively for those who identify as women moving forward due to the gender disparities that exist in STEM fields.
I think there's a lot of other opportunities for men to get involved. I'm not saying that the Women's Commission can't do it, but I don't think there's a need. We have camps that we're doing, even in Muddy, and it's for the majority, but I think in order for us to provide the access for women, we need to do something like this for women and keep it just people who identify as women.
Okay.
To start that pipeline, because it's continually, even when I look at the incoming freshman class, there's a decline of women in our school. We need more women in tech, in STEM, everywhere. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessary.
Whitney Wash added that she agrees that the Women's Commission is responsible for helping women and should stay focused on serving that community.
I, as a mom of a son as well, I think it's incredibly important that boys have access to these opportunities, but I don't think that every entity has the same call or job. And as a Women's Commission, until we have literally exhausted every single avenue and resource that we can for identifying programs for girls, and I think that's where we need to stay. I think if we want to even say, well, Girls Coding Camp now, as it stands, is insufficient for serving Native girls, Native and Indigenous girls, Black girls, right? There's a whole lot of other layers I think we can unpack, and I think the Women's Commission should stay focused on our identity groups. So that's where I would stand. So if we get that question, it's not no, we don't think boys need coding, because we need people, we need talent in STEM in general. But what we do have is an intentional agenda to increase the number of girls that go into STEM fields or STEM adjacent careers.
The commission voted to hold their meetings in person moving forward, with the exception of a hybrid accommodation for emergencies. At the August 23rd Monroe County Community School Corporation Board meeting, board members discussed an incentive program for bus drivers. The board has received many complaints from parents about the long bus routes due to bus driver shortages. Director of Information Technology, Adam Terwilliger, presented the incentive program with a recommendation to approve $1,000 stipends in order to attract and retain bus drivers that have a commercial driver's license.
I recommend to you the MCCSC Commercial Driver's License Incentive Program. This program works to attract and retain new CDL drivers to the corporation, as well as provide stipends to current drivers actively driving for the MCCSC. All current drivers are to receive a $1,000 stipend payable in 2 installments over the next 2 months. All newly employed CDL drivers are to receive a $1,000 stipend payable in 2 installments in the first 2 months of their employment in the MCCSC. Any non-administrative employee that refers a new driver will earn the stipend equivalency. I so recommend.
Superintendent Dr. Jeff Hauswald thanked the bus drivers for their hard work.
And we appreciate the board's consideration of this and thank our drivers as well. I know they're working hard and they deserve this. And we might add that our incentive has already recruited at last count. I know we already have. Give me an update on the numbers from this program.
9 individuals, 4 with CDLs.
Yeah, so that's great.
All right, well, thank you. Mr. Terwilliger.
During public comment, bus driver Kip Shell thanked the transportation department and walked through what it means to be a bus driver.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Kip Shell, and I'm a school bus driver, and I drive school bus EV1. EV stands for electric vehicle, so I get to drive one of the electric vehicles. Tonight, I'm here to just kind of give a little bit of praise to Transportation Department for the new leadership that we have and the new directions that we're going. Everything is rolling out. Yes, have we had some hurdles to have to get over? Yes, we have. But are we making strides of improvements? Yes, we are. So I want to talk a little bit about my stripes. Every time you guys have seen me in here, you've always seen me in my stripes. My stripes are my badge of honor. That's the way I look at it. Stripes are for safety. Safety is paramount in the things that we do with our kids on the bus. Safety is always first thing. The technology that we have to help with, the GPS systems and stuff that we now have on the buses. Stripes for respect. We give respect. We need respect in return. We need respect from the children. We need respect from the parents. I for individuality. Each child is its own individual, and we try to treat each child as their own individual. The P in stripes for perseverance, as we return each day to get up and do it all over again. E for education. That can start from the time they start on the bus. We help to encourage their education as well. And then final S for supporter. We strive to do the best that we can do to help each of the kids. So there's so many different pronouns or adverbs or whatever you want to use, as Mr. Fix-It, from a coat zipper, backpack zipper, tying someone's shoes. I always tell my kids, your ties are unshoed, and they look at me. From tying their shoes to, fixing their precious little piece of jewelry. We as bus drivers, we do so many different things that just go unheard of. We may not be teachers, but yet we'll teach your child. We may not be taxis, but we're going to get them where they need to be. We may not be referees, but we will stop their game whenever they're not playing fair. We're not counselors, but we're going to listen when the children need us. We may not be their parents, but we will care like we are. We are not nurses, but we'll bandage their boo-boos. We're not police officers, but we'll protect them like one, because we are your bus drivers. As a final thing in my last few seconds, please, when you see the big yellow Twinkie coming down the road with the lights flashing red on it, please stop. We have your children on board. Please stop. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Kip.
The school board approved the CDL incentive program unanimously. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. At the Bloomington Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission meeting on August 22nd, the commission discussed a resolution for the City Council in response to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Commissioner Najla Routsong asked what the resolution would cover. Commissioner Shelby Ford responded, saying it would inform the City of Bloomington what the council can do through legislative action.
Yeah, so the whereas is kind of just like our background information, what we're making statements about. So other than the state and federal law, we're asking that city funds not be used to store, catalog, report of any abortion miscarriage aside from the law or another criminal investigation. And then also with that, we're asking that so basically we're asking not to collect that information unless it's a part of a criminal investigation, enforcement, prosecution. And then the lower, this is something really similar to other cities where we're asking for low priority when it comes to criminalization and prosecution. We know we cannot do that. So this is why we're asking that they sign on to something similar, recognizing what they can do, the city can do, and where they can advocate for these changes to be made. And then our second part is the bigger part, is the part that has like the budgeting. So Planned Parenthood and all options is who we recommend, but also other stakeholders if the city were to decide differently, because we're asking the city to figure out those aspects, but we recommend at least $75,000.
Commissioner Renee Miller explained that the legislation will become important as the state starts to prosecute women for having abortions.
At this time, a person with a vaginal canal will not be prosecuted if they seek an abortion in the state of Indiana between September 15th and the end of the year. We anticipate that changing come January, because they've got a whole slew of things they're going to throw at this to make it more difficult for anyone with a vaginal canal to be able to, or to legislate against people having any bodily autonomy.
The next Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission meeting will be held on October 24th. During the Citizens Redistricting Advisory Commission meeting on August 22nd, Commissioner Amanda Sheridan presented a consideration for a proposed map of the 6 Bloomington City Council districts labeled Commissioner Map 10.
My map has a much probably lower compactness score than what some of the others did. I'm kind of assuming that many or most of the maps that were submitted would be legal. After reading, it has something about the compactness, and I guess what it seemed to be is where there is like a plurality, of a minority community that might change the result of an election or a community of interest, whether that's minority or not. What I'm assuming with the neighborhood associations is that within politics, it may actually be that the way people vote is more split up based on homeowners versus renters, people that have earned income versus unearned, things like that. So it's possible to say that you were in one of these neighborhoods and ideally they should be all, concentrated together, but even if they are not, I'm kind of thinking that they would vote similar with other homeowners, as it like that would be the main dividing point as opposed to which association.
Another commissioner expressed concern about the continuity of neighborhoods in City Council District B6. Commissioner Sheridan responded.
What happened there is that in order to preserve, like in the original materials, one of the things that you could possibly do with this would be to try to keep as many people the same as possible, like having as few voters change districts as possible. So that was what I tried to do with my 2 maps. Although if you wanted to make a larger change, some of the other maps are more where it's very, very compact and doesn't really have that feature. But I had to expand what was a more central district and expand it outward, I think. So that's how it got like that.
During public comment, former city clerk Regina Moore said she had concerns that a district contained neighborhoods that did not have much in common with each other. She outlined parts of the district map that are separated by 3rd Street and advocated that they not be grouped together.
When I look at the city of Bloomington, I see a structure, meaning basically Third Street, that divides the city north and that structure, because of the nature of the road, really divides the city. And to include a neighborhood or group that would span up and down, north and south of Third Street, is, to me, not paying too much attention to cities or communities of interest or neighborhoods. So I would say almost the same thing about the city north to south along a dividing line between College and Walnut, although that's not as significant in this map. I think you pretty much got that part of it right. The projection to me is I see the yellow district, and I'm sorry, I don't know what number it is, and I see it spanning from High Street way over to the west side of the city. That particular district is maybe 3 or 4 distinct parts to it, distinct neighborhoods to it that have nothing in common with each other. I would much see it divided differently. I think that's my comment at this point. The east part of that district, Perry 7, Perry 15, Perry 16, is much more in common with the Bryant Park area, or even Perry 8 and Perry 32 than it does Perry 1 or anything north of 3rd Street. Having lived in that area, specifically Perry 15 and Elm Heights, I think that that's a real problem with this map.
Next, the commissioners discussed Public Map 4, which was submitted by local journalist Dave Askins. Commission Chair Alex Semchuk said he's concerned about the compactness of the proposed map. Commissioner Kathleen Field said she agreed.
I definitely have some concerns about the compactness of Map 4, especially as it relates to, I believe, District 1, whatever the light blue. Because, I mean, we were just talking about not crossing 3rd Street, but that's exactly what that does in light blue. So I definitely do have a problem with that.
I tend to think that like that area to the side of whatever road this is or line that
At the town line.
is just gonna be weird no matter what we do. It's just weird. So.
And it's the only district on map 4 that actually crosses 3rd Street.
Staff liaison Stephen Lucas said there is not an exact standard for compactness and that the statute says districts should be, quote, reasonably compact, end quote. The Citizens Redistricting Advisory Commission will continue the discussion at its next meeting at 7:30 p.m. on August 31st. Commissioners said they hope to finalize and adopt the redrawn City Council districts at that meeting. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc.
Welcome back to CATSweek. On August 22nd, the Ellettsville Town Council discussed creating a non-reverting fund for the Parks and Recreation Department. Town Attorney Darla Brown explained the technicalities of the fund.
So basically what this says is that the fund that the Town Council established in 1998 for the Department of Parks and Rec is now going to be renamed, and the purpose is going to be expanded to include not only donations, but any other funds for non-capital improvements. So it's a non-reverting operating fund. So that's the purpose of this. I understand there's some question about Section 3 at the bottom, who the director is going to be. Does the council want a director? But Otherwise, I think the ordinance should comport with the comments I heard at the work session and at the last town council meeting.
Council members Scott Oldham and Dan Swafford said they were confused about the purpose of the fund. Brown explained that the account was established to accept funds and donations for the Parks Department.
The purpose of this account is to accept funds, and you can only use it for what's designated in this ordinance. So I guess, yeah, it is, you can disperse money from it, but it's limited to what's specifically in this ordinance. So the purpose of collecting the fund is limited to what's written here. And the purposes for which it can be spent is limited to what's written here.
Swafford asked why the fund would need to be a non-reverting fund instead of being a part of the general budget. Brown said that the purpose of the fund was to collect donations for the Youth Sports League. Councilmember William Ellis added that the account would also collect money for other parks projects.
And even if we don't proceed with the Youth Sports League, this fund would still be there for the parks to use and collect for the shelter house money, or if somebody wanted to make a $10,000 donation.
Brown added that the fund was already established as a non-reverting fund 20 years ago, and the ordinance would make the account a little more current. Council Clerk and Treasurer Sandra Hash added that the donations go into the account, and she also uses it for shelter house deposits and sales tax revenue.
It was a non-reverting fund already, and it was just isolated for park donations. And we had, right now there is one donation in there of $250, and I deposit the shelter house deposits and sales tax into this because those need to go in and out. I didn't want to use an appropriated fund. We have to pay sales tax on the rental fees of the shelter house. It's a state requirement.
So really,
we incorporate that in the fee. We don't charge extra for it.
Hash said that the fire department also has a non-reverting fund. Ellis said that the ordinance is beneficial for the Parks Department to have, noting that now members of the public know that if they want to donate to the parks specifically, their money will go to this fund.
What this also alerts us that we have this fund, and so if the Parks Department or somebody wants to donate, they know that if they want to write a check, it's going to go for the parks.
The council will vote on this ordinance at their next meeting. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.